down between the A13 East India Dock Road and the tunnel. On the tube, a signal failure means severe delays on the Circle Line and on the Hammersmith and City Line westbound. And on the Piccadilly Line, Heathrow Terminal 4 station is exit only because of flooding. LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation. The Nigel Farage Show.
Good morning, everybody. This is the Sunday edition of the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC. And we, like all the other programmes on a Sunday morning, will be talking to some of the leading commentators and politicians involved in the week's news and the week's to come's news. But, of course, crucially, the difference here on LBC is you get to have your say. And I think that's pretty important because I don't know about you, but I thought Mrs May, and let's remember, earlier this year, the Lancaster House speech, Brexit means Brexit, we were told. A general election, vote for me, I'm the woman that is going to give you Brexit. And then she goes to Florence, drags the British press corps down there to tell them, well, actually, we're sort of going to leave in 2019, but we're not really going to leave. Actually, we're going to stay in virtually everything for the course of the next 2 years. And by the way, the European Union is fantastic. It's wonderful. Nearly everything it does really, really well. And long term, we're going to be committed to staying part of nearly all of it, albeit we will rebadge each different organisation. And I watched all of this and thought to myself, what on earth is going on? And why am I seeing all these cabinet ministers, the Borises, the Goves and people like that, all rallying round for the good of the party when it's pretty clear to me that the voters have been shortchanged? In fact, I felt her speech literally stuck two fingers up to the Brexit voters. Because remember, from a date of Brexit, it was 9 months to trigger Article 50. Then the voters were told, oh, no, you're not going to get Brexit yet. There's a 2-year process now we have to go through. It's called Article 50, but don't worry, little heads. At the end of that, we'll be out. And now we're told, well, actually, we won't be leaving in 2019. It'll be 2021. Or will it be 2021? Because this transition period, which she herself rebranded as the implementation period, she said would be around about 2 years. Well, kind of around about 2 years takes us, does it not, to the next general election. I would have thought there's very little hope of us being out properly by the time the next election comes along. And that's the Conservative Party. And we're beginning to hear a few backbenchers who are showing some sign of resentment. And just before the show, I spoke to Jacob Rees-Mogg, the Conservative MP for North East Somerset, and I started by asking him whether Brexiteers will be upset with Mrs May's speech.
I think it would be upset if we were still under the auspices of the European Court beyond March 2019. I think the legal point is absolutely essential. But if our law is still subsidiary to European law, we have not left, and that would undermine the vote that we had in June of last year. The other issues are important, but at least they're then under our control, and it's our voluntary will as a sovereign nation to extend free movement.
Well, it's our will as a government.
I wouldn't choose to do. Yeah, I wouldn't choose to do that. I think that actually tells you more about the incompetence of the Home Office than anything else.
So let's just be clear then, what Mrs May has said to us. Free movement continues until at least 2021.
Effectively, and not in a strict legal sense, but effectively.
Okay, and we go on paying £8 to £10 billion a year net.
Indeed, we continue with our current level of contributions.
All EU laws that exist at the moment continue?
Yes, they come under UK law under the repeal bill, and we would then continue to impose any that affected the single market for the following 2 years.
So I'm a kind of voter, Jacob. I've never voted in my life, but I was motivated on the 23rd of June to go and vote because I was told this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to change the future course of my country. And let's say I voted Brexit, and then I waited 9 months for Article 50 to be triggered, to be told it'll all be okay because we have a 2-year period where we're going to sort everything out. It's called Article 50. And now I'm told that we have another 2 years on top of that at least. I mean, haven't I a right to feel pretty upset when Mrs May stood at the election telling me Brexit means Brexit, and now it's been kicked into the long grass for who knows how long?
I don't fully endorse what you're saying. I have my concerns, make no bones about that. But I do think the legal point is crucial, that once we are out of the legal supremacy of the European Union, we can then change our laws. Parliament can change laws and nobody can overrule us. So in that 2-year implementation period, that becomes the will of a sovereign people, a democratic people, to decide what they want to do. It's no longer something that is enforced upon us by a foreign organisation.
No. But the problem is, the political class, we've seen the Labour Party go from a general election from saying end free movement, leave the single market, to taking the contrary position. And we've now seen the Conservative Party decide that everything will be delayed for at least 2 years. Now, doesn't that take us up to the next general election? So isn't it realistic to say that the next general election will be fought by a Conservative Party saying, trust us, we will get you out?
No, I think there is a risk that the Labour Party, if they got in, would try and undermine Brexit altogether. Their position is effectively that they want to stop Brexit. And
but Jacob, I mean, you're saying to me that Labour are slightly worse than the Conservatives.
No, Labour are much worse, much worse.
What worse than Philip Hammond?
They're worse than the position of the government. But I do come back to this legal point, because if we are out in March 2019, then it's implementation rather than transition. Where I'd be really worried would be if we were still subject to the European Court, because then in no sense would we have left. And that means that it would be easy for somebody to continue this transition indefinitely. Whereas if we're no longer subject to the ECJ, then it's our laws, it's our democratic institutions that determine our future. And 2 years to tidy things up, to make things run more smoothly.
It's not going to happen in the space of those 2 years, is it?
I don't think 2 years makes an awful lot of difference. I think we should be ready by the beginning of April 2019 to leave, and I think the bureaucracy of government should be getting a move on to ensure that our borders are ready, that the Home Office has things in place, that it can control the entry of member state citizens from the EU, that Customs and Excise can be ready to implement a border. But as I'm in favour of free trade, that shouldn't be too difficult. I think all that should be done by the beginning of April 2019.
Isn't the truth of it, Jacob, that your cabinet, your party's cabinet, is absolutely split down the middle, spends much of its time feuding against each other, either in private or in public, and doesn't ultimately Mrs May have to decide whether she wants to go with the Boris view of the world or the Hammond view of the world?
Well, I think the Boris view of the world is a very good and positive one, because it puts the argument as to why Brexit is very positive. The Remainers, the people who voted Remain, may accept that Brexit needs to happen, but they come at it from a point of view of this is a terrible decision made by the electorate, and they're doing it reluctantly. Whereas Boris and people like him are saying this is the great opportunity for our future prosperity, and I think we need to hear much more of Boris, and the argument he put last week was really powerful and important.
And do you think Mrs May survives and through till Christmas this year?
I think Mrs May survives, yes, and I think we need her to survive. I think we want a leader who is there through the negotiations, at least, ideally longer, to make sure this actually happens. I think the greatest risk to Brexit would be a change in government.
Well, a change in government, of course, would follow an election, but it doesn't mean the Conservative Party can't have a change of leader. And I notice...
Well, technically, a change of government comes when the Prime Minister changes.
Yes, but I mean, we may well get a Prime Minister in the shape of Mrs May who doesn't want to do this forever. But your own support base are cheered this morning, I see, that Mogmania has crossed the Atlantic and you are now being endorsed by the National Review in the United States of America. How are the Rees-Mogg leadership ambitions?
They're non-existent. I want, as you want, to get a proper Brexit and to contribute to conservative thinking and to make sure that the country is as successful as it can be on the basis of conservative principles.
OK, and finally, Jacob, have the electorate been badly let down by the political class since the referendum?
Not yet. If we don't leave the European Court of Justice jurisdiction, then yes, but that hasn't happened. That I assume we will be leaving that, and then Brexit is still not on as fast a track as you and I would like, but on a track that we ought to be able to live with.
Well, I have to say that Jacob was being spectacularly diplomatic when he said to me, I don't fully endorse your criticisms. He's clinging on to the hope that the European Court of Justice will not be supreme after the end of March 2019, but I have to say that's all pretty woolly and pretty vague. I'm asking you, do you think our political leaders are trying to stop Brexit, or perhaps even worse, even betray us? And my view is yes. The Labour Party have completely changed their position since the general election. They now want to stay in the single market for at least the transition period, if not longer. And I don't believe this 2-year implementation period, as Theresa May called it. They will fight the next general election with that still going on, telling us, trust us, we're the party that will take you out. I think the whole thing is really very, very poor indeed, and I'm pretty angry about it. Let me know how you feel. Call me 0345 60 60 973, text to 84850, tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC at LBC, watch us live on Facebook and comment there too. You're listening to the Sunday edition of the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC. It's 10:15.
This is LBC.
People who've had their dental implants at TDC implant centres have had their lives transformed.
Anthony gave me a mirror when they were actually in situ and said, smile. And I did, and it was just amazing.
We gave Sylvana a full set of implants and beautiful fixed teeth in just one day. Around 3 months later, we exchanged her fixed teeth for her final permanent set.
I said, Mr. Zubitz, I do believe that you've made me look younger.
Book your free consultation today. Visit smileinaday.co.uk.
It's Super Weekend at Lidl with up to 50% off selected products. Get a bottle of South African Cabernet Sauvignon, only $2.99. A pack of premium roast ham, just 79p. And a family-size box of dishwasher tablets, only $1.79. Lidl, big on quality, little on price. Subject to availability, NR may vary, selected stores while stocks last.
At Homebase, we're all about amazing autumn value on a huge range of bathroom essentials, including showers starting from just £49. Homebase, always low prices.
When you're trying to find the perfect cruise for you, Virgin Holidays knows what's what. We know the length of the water slides, the temperature of the dry martinis, the second the sun hits the horizon, the decibel level of the fireworks, the size of every island we visit, the showtimes for the poolside movies, cooking time for the lobster, the salt they use for tequila, the name of each hop that makes the onboard craft beer, the height of the rock climbing wall. We even know the thread count of the bed linen. We know what makes a cruise. If you want to know more, visit your nearest Virgin Holidays store. Virgin Holidays. Seize the holiday. Atoll protected.
Your company's doing pretty well. Your tax position's okay. So, what's keeping you awake at night?
To face the future with confidence, talk to Vision Consulting. We've expanded from Gants Hill to the Gherkin, with clients from the fishmonger to the multi-million-pound property investment company. And our growth as a firm of chartered accountants and registered auditors is based on our passion for our clients' business.
Have confidence in your accountant. See visionconsulting.co.uk.
Admiral, welcome to the show.
My pleasure.
Now, there's been a lot of talk recently about your multi-cover discounts for home and car insurance.
You mean our guaranteed multi-cover discounts?
Yes. Another insurance company saving us money?
Andrew, that's not us. We're different. We cover your home and car insurance on one policy, guaranteeing you a lower Admiral price.
Well, you say that.
Please, go to admiral.com and see the multi-cover discounts for yourself.
At Oak Furnitureland, everyone knows our furniture is 100% solid hardwood. And it's also 50% off. But most importantly, it's 100% solid hardwood.
Yes, but don't forget it's also 50% off.
Don't miss the big sale at Oak Furnitureland, where everything's 100% solid hardwood with up to 50% off. The big sale ends this Sunday with up to 50% off. Visit oakfurnitureland.co.uk to find your nearest store.
New Sky Sports is here. So now all our Sky TV customers can get our brand new channel dedicated to the Premier League for £18 a month. with 126 live games and a new weeknight debate show. Exciting, eh, Gary? If you don't have Sky TV, bundles start from £22 a month. Search New Sky Sports today to get our new Premier League channel.
Unbelievable!
Cancellation requires 31 days notice. New Sky TV customers, £20 setup fee, 18-month contract.
This is LBC, the Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
So Mrs May drags the British press corps down to Florence in Italy for reasons that I still haven't yet been able to work out, and tells them we're not really going to leave the European Union now in 2019. We're going to stay on for another couple of years. We're going to go on paying £8 to £10 billion a year. We will have the free movement of people, and the EU's laws will continue to apply to us. Oh, and by the way, we won't be negotiating trade deals with the 85% of the world economy that is not part of the European Union. Do you think our political leaders are trying to stop Brexit, or worse, even betray us? And before I go to your calls, a little bit of polling. The Mail on Sunday commissioned Survation in the wake of that speech and asked people a variety of questions. The first was, I trust the Prime Minister to deliver a good deal for Brexit. Yes, say 34%, no, say 51%. Cabinet splits mean that Britain is less likely to get a good deal. Agree, 56%. Disagree, 12%. And here's the kicker. Was her speech a betrayal of Brexit? And this is published in today's Mail on Sunday, field work done over the weekend by Survation. 38% say yes, it was a betrayal of Brexit. 26% say no. I think we're well on the way to being betrayed. I wonder what Matthew in Heathrow thinks of that. Good morning, Matthew.
Morning, Nigel. Basically, Nigel, we are leaving, but it's going to take time. So,
right. Okay.
It's going to take time. I was positive with Theresa May. I mean, she's basically the negotiations are now about money, so we've had to make it clear to them during this transition arrangement or implementum period, we're going to have to carry on paying. And that's obviously, we've got to follow the same rules, but at least it's going to take time. We're going to have to start controlling the immigration, what we can do now, and she's going to start doing that. It's going to take time to get all the...
When?
Well, she said she set the date in March 2019, the day we
Oh no, Matthew! Free movement continues after the end of March 2019. It's just that in theory, people will have to register.
Well, that's how we're going to start to control it, by people registering, making sure they pay their taxes. We get entry-exit checks. We know who's in the country, when they're in the country. Are they working or are they tourists?
So we're going to trust the worst Home Secretary in the history of this nation when it came to immigration to put in place a system. Matthew, regardless whether people are expected to register, free movement of people continues until at least 2021. That is 5 years after people voted Brexit. Am I not right to think that people should feel let down on that?
Yeah, but we've been in the EU for 40 years. It's not going to happen overnight. The important thing is we've got to carry on that trade. And obviously the negotiations has hit a stumbling block. We've got to get that free trade deal, or to get a trade deal what's going to work. And it's going to put time to get that in place. So until...
And did you notice, Matthew, that... So we're going to stay part of the single market and the customs union with free movement. We're going to go on paying the 8 to 10 billion every year. So we continue as if we were still members of the union for that 2 years, albeit without any voting rights. What she didn't mention was the Brexit bill, because the Brexit bill's on top of that. So it looks like the Brexit bill is probably going to be around about 40 billion sterling. Haven't people got a right to be upset about that?
Well, we can't just damage the economy. I mean, you've got to see it that basically we've got to carry on the trade we got. We're going to get more trade eventually in the rest of the world, but that's going to take time to get in place anyway. So obviously there's going to be side talks going with the rest of the world, getting ready for those trade deals where we can start new business.
Why would the rest of the world now take us seriously? Why would they even bother listening to us when they've been told that actually it will be a minimum of 5 years before we sign a trade deal with anybody from the time of Brexit? Why would anybody bother with us?
Well, yeah, it's not going to happen yet. I mean, until we know what trading relationship we got in the UK, and it looks like they're struggling to get that free trade deal. So, I mean, and if we don't get that free trade deal, we're going to lose so much business. We've got to really get ourselves organised.
All right, Matthew. Matthew, your confidence in the Prime Minister, your patience with the whole process is admirable in many ways. Can I ask you, how long do you think the transition period will last?
Well, I think what she said, minimum 2 years. It could be 5 years.
Right. So that would then be 7 years after Brexit. Before, 8 years after Brexit until we left.
Yeah, as long as it takes. I mean, we're slow.
No, Matthew. We voted to leave.
Well, yes, but that's going to damage.
No. We had those arguments during the referendum.
Yeah, but no, we're leaving. I mean, I wasn't obviously remain now, but we're leaving. But we've got to make sure we don't damage the economy.
Matthew, I thank you. I thank you for the call. I wonder whether I'll live to see it if Theresa May stays as Prime Minister, but I really, really do. Russell says on Facebook, Nigel, May has timed this just right for the general election and Corbyn taking her seat and stopping Brexit. I have to say, Russell, she has timed this perfectly for the election. Mark my words, the transition period goes on to the general election, and then she says, trust us, we're the Conservative Party. Brexit will mean Brexit in the lifetime of the next Parliament. That is exactly what is going to happen here. Scotty says, what do you think Britain and Europe will look like by 2021, I dread to think. Darren says, total betrayal. Lost trust in the Tories big time. Well, we'll talk a bit about Labour too on this show. They, of course, are meeting in Brighton, and whilst they're not having a row over Brexit that is quite as seismic as that in the Conservative Party, they've still got their problems on this issue too. Penny from Chelsea, has Mrs May reassured you that Brexit means Brexit?
No, she hasn't, Nigel, and I'd like to thank you very much for everything you've done. I thought her speech was so boring and uninspiring, and all she seemed to be doing was placating the EU members. Nothing for this country. I was really furious.
Yes, you're quite right, Penny.
2 years.
She was really praiseworthy, wasn't she? She was she was praiseworthy of the EU.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
No, she said it was wonderful in terms of security, great in terms of trade, its foreign aid budget was wonderful, and we would stay part of all of it, just under a different label.
And I still can't understand why she didn't trigger Article 50 straight away. We would have been more ahead now, and we wouldn't have had all that trouble from Gina Miller. And could I ask you, Nigel, please, would you stand again?
Now, Penny, this is a question that I'm being asked by an awful lot of people, and in fact, I think I've counted 5 newspaper articles this morning that suggest, as if they know Farage to lead, break away from UKIP if one particular candidate wins. And I will, Penny, I promise you, very shortly, answer your question. Penny, I thank you very much for your call. And Penny's comment about how nice she was to all of the EU leaders. I love the piece that Quentin Letts wrote in the Daily Mail on Saturday when he said, I thought at one point she might offer Jean-Claude Juncker a knighthood. And that was very much how it felt to me. Vincent is calling from Bedford. Vincent, good morning.
Yeah. One of the most annoying parts of the was where she said that this country would honour commitments to the European Union budget.
Yeah.
Right up until even for 2 years afterwards, so that no other member is left out of pocket or have to contribute more.
She did say that. She absolutely said that, Vincent. You're right.
And what got me thinking was why she doesn't show the same generosity and consideration to, for example, public services in this country.
Well, the feeling was, Vincent, that she went to Florence to tell the EU what a fantastic organisation it was, what a great success it had been, how we loved the whole thing, how we were going to be very generous in every way we could be, and please, in return, could they give us some sort of trade deal? That's what it was all about. There were no guarantees, of course, that what she said would get her anywhere. In fact, my view, Vincent, is you're dealing with people like Juncker and Barnier. They're wholly unreasonable people. Whatever sum of money which she was to offer, they would ask for double that.
I mean, this postponement for 2 years is a bit, to me, like postponing death. You can postpone death, but you won't put it off. It's going to happen. And this is the same thing with this exit. If we're going to leave, you can postpone it for 2 years, 5 years, whatever. It's going to happen.
Do you think they're trying to stop it, Vincent?
Well, basically, deep down, she was a Remainer.
Yes.
And I think she's just showing her true colours again.
Yeah, no, Vincent, I thank you for that. And funny enough, earlier in the week, there was a couple of callers that came on and said, did you see her speech, Nigel, at the United Nations, where she said we must do all we can to defend the global institutions that it's taken us so long to create. Now, she was talking there with reference to the United Nations, but I think it shows you kind of the mindset. You know, May is a very conventional career politician. There isn't an ounce of radicalism in her. And for her to be Prime Minister at a time when the country expects her to do something that is big and global and historic, I think must be quite a challenge to her. And not least of which, of course, because the Cabinet are all at war with each other. And if you look at various front pages today, the Sunday Times, particularly interesting, just talking about the whole series of plots immediately after the general election to get rid of Mrs. May. Hi, Nigel. I think the government is trying to drag this out for so long that people get fed up with the leave process and vote to stay in the EU at the next election, says Paul from Epsom. I suspect, Paul, if I'm right, I could be wrong, but if I'm right, actually, leave voters, far from getting fed up with it, will get absolutely fed up, if not furious, with our political class for doing this to us. You're listening to the Sunday edition of the Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC, and time for the news with Glenn Moore.
There's been another suspected acid attack in London, with 6 people injured after a substance was sprayed at them at the Stratford Centre. Police say it happened when a fight broke out there at around 8 last night. A 15-year-old boy has been arrested. North Korea's foreign ministers told the UN overnight Donald Trump is a mentally deranged person. The US presidents responded, though, saying leaders there won't be around much longer if they keep threatening America. Nearly 630,000 people have signed a petition calling for Uber to continue operating in London. On Friday, Transport for London announced it isn't going to renew the minicab app's licence following safety concerns. LBC weather, patchy rain will move across western parts throughout the day. It'll be a dry day across the east, feeling warm as well, with a high of 21 degrees.
LBC travel in Ealing. The A40 Western Avenue remains blocked in both directions at Savoy Circus because of an accident. 2 cars have spun on the road and one has hit the Central Reservation. The queues are on the Westway from Bloemfontein Road and on the Western Avenue from St Andrews Road. It's slow on Kensington Church Street at Kensington High Street. Some temporary lights are in operation because of emergency repairs. On the Tube, a signal failure means severe delays on the Circle Line and on the Hammersmith and City Line westbound. And on the Piccadilly Line, Heathrow Terminal 4 station is exit only because of flooding. LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff.
This is LBC.
Global's Make Some Noise Day returns on Friday the 6th of October. LBC's charity to help make some noise for those who don't get heard. This year we want to help even more charities, such as Action for Family Carers. They help young people who care for a family member. Here's 12-year-old Amy.
Normal children can go out whenever they want, and most children get the experience to go on holiday with their family. I've never really experienced that.
Right now you can get involved and help change lives by donating at lbc.co.uk.
At More Than, we've learned that understanding your pet is tricky. For example, actually means I've dug some holes in the lawn for you. You're welcome. It's even harder to understand them when they're sick. So More Than Pet Insurance comes with VetPhone, a 24/7 free-to-call health advice line. Plus, new customers get 25% off online now. We do more than.
Come and experience Lebanese dining at Marouche Restaurants. Try some of our amazing dishes, kafta dipped in a delicious hummus, or a colourful meze, complemented by a robust Lebanese red. With live music and traditional belly dancing, enjoy an atmosphere to match the food's rich and distinctive flavours. Go to Marouche.com to find out more. Marouche Restaurants, the finest Lebanese food across London.
Your journey is always more pleasurable with Aeroflot Russian Airlines. Our young fleet flies to an enormous range of destinations. Come and experience true hospitality delivered by our expert cabin crew and pilots, made even better by the choice of exquisite cuisine served on board. Then just sit back, relax, and enjoy the comfort of our state-of-the-art aircraft. You'll find you've enjoyed yourself before you've even landed. Fly Aeroflot.
Do you feel as if you never get enough sleep? Hamsey's Sleep Centres have the answer. Buy a new mattress from our promotional range today and we'll give you up to £100 trade-in on your old one. And up to £200 off your new one, free local delivery, free mattress protector and a free pair of pillows. Plus a full 10-year guarantee. We'll even give you a 100-night sleep trial. Hamsey's, Beckenham, Bexley Heath, Leatherhead, New Malden and Wallington. And at hamseys.co.uk.
Sometimes it can be hard to keep your show on the road, but new Car Genie from the AA makes things easier. Car Genie helps predict and prevent breakdowns. Just plug it into your car and it will warn you and us if there's a potential problem. That should keep you rolling. New Car Genie from the AA, because anything can happen. Compatible vehicles only. Check the AA.com for details.
Laughing, loving, playing, guiding, caring.
Being a parent doesn't stop when your life does. Take care of your loved one's futures today at legalandgeneral.com, the UK's #1 life insurance provider.
Growing, learning, dreaming.
You are forever a parent. Cover from £6 a month. Limitations and exclusions apply. Claim based on new life insurance sales in 2016.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Well, the Tory party are practically at war with each other over the European question, as they have been since 1972, so it's not unusual for parties to have difficult times. And there are a lot of newspaper stories today saying Farage to lead UKIP splinter breakaway party. Apparently, if one of the candidates for the UKIP leadership, which will be announced at 5:15 this Friday at UKIP's conference in Torquay. And one of the candidates, the most controversial of them, is a woman called Anne-Marie Walters, who takes a very, very hardline position on Islam. The story is that if she becomes UKIP leader, I'm walking out immediately, and on that Monday night, I'm going to form a new breakaway splinter party, which I will lead. Can I just tell you, all those different articles that you read in the newspaper, every single one of them is wrong. It's wrong. I won't be. I will not be forming a new breakaway splinter party, and I haven't, as far as the UKIP leadership's concerned, committed myself publicly to anybody. What I have said is if anybody takes over the leadership of UKIP and takes it down a hard right position, then it will be finished. That's all that I've said. So please, none of you, some of you may have thought it was a wonderful idea that I do it. Others might have been horrified at the thought. Either way, it isn't going to happen. Now, talking of splits, or at least changes of position, Jeremy Corbyn had been a hardline Eurosceptic ever since he first joined the Houses of Parliament in 1983. He was part of that group of MPs with Tony Benn. He's voted against every single European treaty over the course of that time. He was, what I would call actually a hardline Eurosceptic until he became leader of the Labour Party. But he fought the general election very clearly saying that if Labour formed the government, that they'd be leaving the single market, ending free movement. He did that, but of course he has a very, very pro-EU Labour Party in the House of Commons. And despite his relative strength in the party, this is an issue on which he doesn't really feel he can carry the majority. And I understand there's some real pressure now being put on him, given that he's changed the position already, for us to have a transitional period and for us to stay in the single market during it. In fact, actually, if you think about it, May's position and Corbyn's position, as far as our relationship with the EU is concerned for the next few years, are now pretty much identical. Not much to choose from, folks. But, and I'm going to go down to sunny Brighton, I'm going to talk to LBC's political editor, Theo Usherwood. Theo, he's having a bit of pressure, more pressure, I understand, put on him by the pro-EU Labour MPs.
Very much so, Nigel. Overnight, 30 MPs, 40 in total, senior members within the party have written to the Observer, perhaps no surprises there that they chose the Observer, asking, or demanding, I should say, Jeremy Corbyn keeps Britain within the single market when we leave the European Union. Now, within the last half an hour or so, Mr Corbyn's actually been responding to that letter, and he said that it would be very difficult for Labour to implement its policies in government if Britain stays within the single market. And he particularly highlighted the issue of state aid, the ability of governments to bail out failing industries like Tata Steel when that hit the wall a couple of years ago, if we remain within the European Union, because the rules state, they're very clear, because there is free movement of goods, capital, services and people. You cannot simply, when you see one of your industries go under, step in with government money to prop that industry up. That's unfair, because it would prevent that industry moving to a more competitive market. So Jeremy Corbyn highlighting an issue that perhaps wasn't at the top of your agenda, perhaps wasn't at the top of the Conservative agenda, but is very much at the top of his agenda when it comes to Britain's membership for, or perhaps relationship, I should say.
So that's his fight back in a sense. That's his fight back in a sense. But it would be fair to say, wouldn't it, that his MPs have significantly shifted the Labour Party position since the general election?
Yes, it would be fair to say that. But of course, part of the issue has been, from the Labour leader's point of view at least, is to keep an open mind, to keep it looking slightly confusing. Because what they don't want to do is they don't want to put off those younger voters who came out to vote for Jeremy Corbyn, who'd never voted in the past, who predominantly would support a closer relationship with the European Union than others might like. And then those traditional Labour heartlands in the north of England, Nigel, that went over to UKIP and then came back to Jeremy Corbyn because they liked his hard line and the fact he supported the triggering of Article 50.
3.5 to 4 million of them that voted for Brexit. So there is a bit of a tightrope. Theo, thank you very much for that brief. Theo Usherwood there in Brighton. So just to recap, you were asked in a general election by Jeremy Corbyn to vote for him as Prime Minister, to take us out of the single market, to leave the European Union, to end the free movement of people, and Theresa May said, vote for me to become Prime Minister, and I will take you out of the single market, take you out of the European Union, end the free movement of people, and they now both support us staying with all of those things in a transitional arrangement until at least 2021. Do you think our political leaders are trying to stop Brexit, or perhaps even to betray it? I do, but tell me what you think by calling me on 0345 60 60 973. I'm going to ask Peter in Enfield that very question. Peter, good morning.
Good morning, Lord Farage. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. So, are we being sold down the river by career politicians, Peter, or am I getting too panicky about this?
No, you're perfectly correct. We are being stitched up in a very, very big way. I think the scene was set here after the idiot election that they've just gone through, which they didn't need to do, and having totally undermined her own position, now she's scrambling around looking for some kind of base to put her feet on. And she's standing on shifting sand no matter what. Her own party can't get their act together. Her way of appeasing Europe is to simply shuffle into the conference room on her knees and give them what they want. Well, of course they're going to be pleased. I'm not. I voted for Leave. I don't think that the European forum of any description is worth keeping, and neither do a very large percentage of the European captive audience. That's why they won't give the rest of the European prisoners a mandate for elections to say whether they want to leave, and that's what terrifies the EU.
The one thing that Mr Juncker was very clear about after the British referendum was no more referendums. We don't want this sort of thing happening. We can't have people expressing their free will and saying they want to be independent countries. Peter, I wonder whether a lot of people who are going up to Manchester next weekend for the Conservative Party conference as paid-up Conservative members, activists, leafleters, donors, local councillors, I think, Peter, a lot of those members are really going to express many of the sentiments that you just have. And I just wonder whether this attempt over the weekend to show party unity with, simmering resentment, but not much more than that, I wonder whether this all boils over in Manchester next week. What do you think?
I hope so, because we definitely need to get rid of the Tory party's tea lady, who seems to be the the mouthpiece for the country. God help us.
Thank you, Peter from Enfield. Thank you. We'll leave it there before it gets tougher. Sue says on Facebook, Brexit didn't need to happen. If the EU had negotiated reasonably with Cameron, this is their fault. They are the bad guys, not us. They should pay the price for their pride and arrogance, not us. Well, Sue, in many ways, I have to say, I think that is right. I think had Cameron got some serious concessions, particularly on the question of open borders, I think he may well have been able to carry that referendum. And, I say that as somebody who's always wanted us to leave, but I think his failure to get anything said to people, you know what, we're just banging head up against a brick wall with these people. And so I wonder now whether, with Mrs. Merkel probably going to be re-elected today, I wonder whether she might try some sort of some sort of backdoor negotiation in an attempt to readmit Britain on softer terms. Perhaps that sounds a bit too conspiratorial. I don't know, but anything's possible. John says, I'm in business, and I find it heartwarming to see the government are so concerned about giving us plenty of time to adjust. On budget day, we get 0 time to adjust the tax changes. That's certainly true, John. John, I'm understanding what you're saying, but please, can I just make this point again? I think it's important that after Brexit, global leaders were saying, this is exciting. We can now go straight to the United Kingdom and negotiate trade terms between ourselves on a bilateral basis. And they were lining up to do this. The Australians, the Indians, the Canadians, people from all over the world coming and saying, let's sit down, let's start to talk about this. And what Mrs. May said on Friday was, don't bother. Don't waste the airfare coming to the United Kingdom. We won't be open for global business until at least 2021, but I suspect in reality much, much longer. And I can tell you that I spoke last night to a very senior American elected politician, a close confidant of President Trump. And let me put it like this. He was less than pleased that Britain's not open for business. They saw this as a great new opportunity that now, sadly, will not be happening for a very, very long time. Remember, folks, 85% of the world's gross domestic product is outside the European Union. You're listening to the Sunday edition of the Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC, and it's 10:45.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
Everyone on earth would realise that running a major police force anywhere in the world would have its challenges, but we come to the UK and we come to London and we see those challenges almost on a daily basis. Commissioner of London's Metropolitan Police, Cressida Dick.
Thank goodness nobody was killed at Parsons Green, but that was a very, very dangerous bomb. It partially detonated, it had a large quantity of explosive, and it was packed with shrapnel. It could have been so much worse.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
With Hampton by Hilton. Book direct for the lowest price.
Every weekday morning from 7, only on LBC.
Because your car works hard getting you where you need to be, treat it to what it deserves. Texaco Supreme Fuel, with performance additives to help keep your engine performing at its best. And right now, fill up with Texaco Supreme and we'll treat you to 10-star rewards points, worth 10 pence for every litre. Treat your car and save with Texaco Supreme Fuel. Find your nearest Supreme stockist at texaco.co.uk. Participating retailers only. Conditions apply.
Enhance your lifestyle with unique kitchen and bathroom designs from Alaris. Whether you want technically advanced German kitchens from ProNorm or classic quality kitchens from Mearway, Alaris has what you're looking for. Or enjoy your dream bathroom with Alaris bathroom designs. For free design and competitive prices, visit Alaris at Crossways, Dartford, or alariskitchens.co.uk.
Transform your home with Alaris.
This week only at Lidl, explore a taste of the Alps. Try Bavarian Bratwurst, only $1.59. 2 pork Wiener Schnitzels, just $3.99. And a can of Fest beer for only 99p. Cheers to that. Visit Lidl this week to see the full Taste of the Alps range. Subject to availability, and may vary selected stores while stocks last.
Jack here has got Kev on the phone. As a PlusNet customer, he has lots of friendly people that have his back. Say hi, Kev.
Hi, Kev.
Hi? He can call PlusNet any day of the week. They've already helped him pick a package, upgrade a package, check bills, move home, give him matrix, ordered SIMs, transferred numbers, added buttons, checked his connection speed. And Julie here even helped him settle on Mallorca for his next family holiday.
Don't forget the factor 30.
PlusNet has lots of friendly staff that just can't help but help. It's probably why they've bagged Uswitch as Best Provider for Customer Service Award. PlusNet will do you proud.
Your journey is always more pleasurable with Aeroflot Russian Airlines. Our young fleet flies to an enormous range of destinations. Come and experience true hospitality delivered by our expert cabin crew and pilots, made even better by the choice of exquisite cuisine served on board. Then just sit back, relax, and enjoy the comfort of our state-of-the-art aircraft. You'll find you've enjoyed yourself before you've even landed. Fly Aeroflot.
Laughing, loving, playing, guiding, caring.
Being a parent doesn't stop when your life does. Take care of your loved one's futures today at legalandgeneral.com, the UK's #1 life insurance provider.
Growing, learning, dreaming.
You are forever a parent. Cover from £6 a month. Limitations and exclusions apply. Claim based on new life insurance sales in 2016.
Block management. 2 very simple words. But what do they actually mean? Well, there's budget approval for starters, then service charge invoices, health and safety paperwork, cleaning, gardening, maintenance, inspections, contracts, insurance, emergency call-outs, and a whole lot more besides.
So for complete block management solutions, just remember 3 simple letters. ABC. ABC Estates will take care of all your day-to-day management, leaving you as happy as Larry. See abcestates.co.uk or call 0800 888 6688.
Leading Britain's conversation, The Nigel Farage Show. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag #FarageOnLBC.
We will be leaving the European Union at the end of March 2019 in name only, because we're going to stay part of a transitional arrangement, which means we'll still be part of the single market, the customs union. We will continue to have the free movement of people. We will go on paying the annual membership fee without as yet any agreement on how much Mrs May is prepared to give away as a final Brexit bill. It will look and feel exactly the same as it does as an EU member, with the one exception: we won't have any voting rights anymore. That is where we're going. I'm asking you whether you think it's a betrayal. I do think it is. I think we're heading very much in the wrong direction. I genuinely do. And I'm asked, what happened to you saying on the record that you'd return if you thought Brexit was being sabotaged? Well, I think it is being sabotaged. I won't be returning to anything just yet. Let's see where we end up with this. Let's hope there is a rebellion at the Tory conference and people say simply this isn't good enough. I wonder what John in Weybridge thinks about Mrs May's speech, about the change of position in the Labour Party, and about the question, John, of are our big political leaders trying to stop Brexit or perhaps even betray it?
Nigel, there are so many things I'd like to say to you, but Mrs May's position is, shall we say, very regrettable, because she doesn't really believe in leaving Europe.
No.
She's doing her best, and people like you are going, and every taxi driver and every member of Parliament has got a different idea on how Brexit should work. And I'm sorry to tell you, Nigel, that it ain't going to happen. Not in your lifetime. All of these elderly people that voted for Brexit and all white working-class men that voted for it are going to suddenly realise the elderly people are going to die off. They're going to be replaced by the younger people that want to be part of Europe. And white working-class man, when he realises that he's never going to get what he thought he was going to get, is going to turn on you. I think in a previous life you would have been standing on a soapbox selling snake oil, and you would have sold an awful lot. But when people got the idea, you'd been run out of town, because you've got the gift of the gab. But the last thing that people need in political leaders in this world is people with the gift of the gab. They need statesman-like people with foresight. You have...
I want us to, John, I want us to leave. I want us to pursue a global trading future as an independent, self-confident nation. But I can't do that. We won the referendum, but the ball went back to the other side of the court. It went back to the government. There's nothing I could have done since the referendum to change any of that. Goodness me, if I had the chance to, I certainly would.
Made a terrible mistake because, you see, the GDP of the UK is $65 million, is $2.6 trillion. The EU turnover, if you take ours out, is 8.75 trillion. We are piddling in comparison.
So John, just let me ask you a question, John. What price freedom, John?
Against 440.
No. What price democracy, John?
Pardon?
What price freedom? What price democracy?
Well, you've got caveman, what I call caveman politics.
So democracy belongs to the past, yeah?
People lived in a cave, and they...
Yeah. Do you know something, John? You're just like Peter Mandelson and so many of the others who've been talking over the years about the post-democratic age, that we should now be run by these terribly clever bureaucrats like Mr. Juncker. The point is, John, you can argue economics backwards and forwards, and people will believe things or disbelieve things. Isn't the biggest point about Brexit that it's about democracy, it's about governing our own country and making our own laws? And you think that is caveman politics?
Well, yes, because
you do.
You make all the,
you
if
do.
You're living in a cave, you make all the
Fine, John. Let me just get this absolutely clear. Nation-state democracy belongs to the caveman, yeah?
If you're living in a cave, you make all your decisions. When you become a band, you give up.
That's fine. That's fine. No, that's fine, John. That's fine. We are happy. We are happy to be cavemen, just like over 200 countries in the world who, through varying systems, run their own affairs. It is only in the European Union where this idea we should all surrender the ability to make our own decisions to somebody else has caught hold. Very telling, I thought, the way that John from Weybridge looks at this. If the EU threw us out tomorrow, we deal with it and make ourselves successful in the world. They are delaying and betraying, says John on Twitter. Well, incidentally, I don't bother to vote, but when Brexit was announced, my partner and I made every effort. I don't want to be hoodwinked. I suspect there are a lot of people out there who voted in that referendum. I mean, don't forget, 2.5 million more people voted in the referendum than had voted in a relatively high turnout general election that had taken place the year before. A lot of those, I think, will be feeling pretty hacked off today. Simon, who's calling from Tyneside. So, Simon, are the Labour Party, are the Tory Party, are they trying to delay Brexit?
I think they're just trying to hold position so they can get through the next general election, regardless of what they might say. But my concern really is about the people who are going to be affected, in working class areas like where I work, where, for example, Nissan in Sunderland, a high proportion of the kids that I teach, their parents work there and they've got aspirations to work there, and they're going to miss out.
Because?
Because of the economic situation that's about to befall us.
All right. So, well, I tell you what, Simon. I mean, if you're an expert on what's about to happen, you must be a very, very rich man. Who's to say what will happen to us or the Eurozone or America or anybody?
But you can imagine and you can think about it and you can think about it rationally. And rationally, there is going to be a massive economic impact when jobs start to disappear, and it won't be.
What if more jobs?
It won't be the likes of your friend Rees-Mogg and
What if more jobs are created, Simon? What if we had a government that opened us up to all sorts? And don't forget, I mean, you're talking about Nissan. Don't forget, we sell more cars now that are manufactured in the United Kingdom to non-EU countries than we do to EU countries. So, Simon, there is a bigger world out there than just the European market, surely.
But Nigel, are you not concerned about the exodus that people are talking about of different businesses?
Simon, I heard all this. If Britain doesn't join the euro, manufacturing will leave, the city will close down. I've heard all this before. It didn't happen when we sensibly chose not to join the euro. Why should it happen now?
Significantly different. Don't you agree that this is like a completely different concept?
Well, it's the same. It's the same threat, Simon. It's exactly the same threat.
But with the euro, we weren't talking about imposing tariffs and having tariffs imposed on us. You know what I mean? This is a different situation.
Okay, Simon, I'm going to take one last call for this hour. Thank you. The quick point about tariffs is actually currency movements up and down every month are more than the cost of tariffs in general terms. And my last caller on this subject, time running out, Kieran from Middlesbrough, good morning.
Morning, Nigel.
Hi.
I'm 18, and I wasn't old enough for the referendum, but I would, had I been old enough, I would have voted to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sick of everyone, who was sort of older claiming, we didn't know what we voted for, and I feel a bit betrayed by Theresa May, because I voted for her in this election.
Yes.
But I was expecting it to be a 2-year process, and now it's going to be 4 years. How much more money do we have to pour in before enough is enough?
Well, 20 billion she offered for starters in Florence, but no doubt really that's going to be more like 40 when you had a Brexit bill on top of it. Kieran, it's interesting because this idea that everybody that's young supports Remain, it's just nonsense, isn't it?
Oh, I know, it's ridiculous. In my college class, I think more people were in favour of Leave than actually remaining. Because I think because most people just can see past all the economic stuff, which personally I think the UK could benefit from Brexit. But it's just, national sovereignty and everything. I don't see why we shouldn't be in charge of our own laws.
Well, Kieran, you missed out on the referendum, which probably, given your views, is a good thing. Otherwise, you'd be very upset indeed. I thank you. Now, moving on to a country where young people are voting anti-establishment, as indeed people are right across the continent. And I say that because the Germans are going to the polls today in a national election that could deliver Angela Merkel a fourth term as Chancellor. Merkel and her Christian Democrats look like getting the biggest party in the Bundestag, forming a coalition with somebody else. Would you welcome Angela Merkel coming back as the German Chancellor for a fourth time? Would it be a good thing for us? If you think it'd be a great thing for Britain, call me on 0345 6060973. If you'd rather have somebody else, well, text 84850. And if you're listening in Germany, get in touch. Tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC at LBC. And as ever, you can watch us live on Facebook and comment there. And it all starts next.
On FM, online, on your mobile, and on digital radio. Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 11 o'clock, 6 people have been injured in a suspected acid attack at a shopping centre in East London. Police say a noxious substance was sprayed at people at the Stratford Centre opposite Westfield last night. A 15-year-old boy has been arrested on suspicion of GBH. Elsewhere this morning, an online petition to save Uber in London's one of the fastest growing of the year. More than 630,000 people have now signed it since it was announced the minicab app would lose its licence. Uber says it'll make concessions on passenger safety and driver benefit in order to keep operating. Labour MP Frank Field welcomes that.
A lot depends on this, a lot for travelling public in London, a lot for the safety of the people in London, a lot for a decent wage for those Uber workers.
Labour's annual conference has begun with a row over Brexit. More than 30 senior members have signed a letter in the Observer urging Jeremy Corbyn to keep the UK in the single market and customs union. Donald Trump says North Korea's leaders won't be around much longer if they keep threatening America. Last night, the country's foreign minister called the US president a mentally deranged person. LBC's Washington correspondent Simon Marks reports.
Speaking from the same UN podium where President Trump threatened to destroy his country, North Korea's foreign minister said American insults are an irreversible mistake that make it inevitable Pyongyang's rockets will target the US. He called North Korea a responsible nuclear weapons state and said nuclear capability is its ultimate destiny. Meanwhile, US bombers have flown a show-of-force mission along North Korea's east coast. Simon Marks, LBC, Washington.
There's been a large increase in the number of NHS patients in England waiting more than 12 hours for a hospital bed. New figures show it's gone up by more than 10,000% since 2012. Former MP Dr Richard Taylor's told LBC that NHS needs more money to deal with them.
The NHS does need more money, and if you ask most people, if they thought that every economy, every efficiency had been made, they would be prepared to have a penny put on income tax if it was certainly going to the NHS.
And Mary Berry's been walking a flock of sheep across London Bridge. She's one of 600 freemen of the City of London to have taken advantage of the 800-year-old privilege. LBC weather, patchy rain will move across western parts during the day. It's going to be a dry day across the east, feeling quite warm as well, with a high of 21 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Glenn Moore.
So, the brilliant new iPhone's finally here. But which network do you go for? What if you could get one that lets you keep any data you haven't used? Or change your plan whenever you want? New Sky Mobile. with the new iPhone. Now there's an idea. The perfect network for your perfect phone. Sky. Believe in better.
Redeem data per 1 GB and use within 3 years. 12-month minimum term. Downgrades effective month following selection. Subject to status and credit check. Swap 24 loan required. 18 plus terms apply. See sky.com/swaphelp.
LBC Travel in Ealing, the A40 Western Avenue remains blocked in both directions at Savoy Circus because of an accident. 2 cars are involved and one has hit the central reservation. The queues are on the Westway from Bloemfontein Road and on the Western Avenue from St Andrews Road. There's very slow traffic in Crystal Palace. Annerley Road is closed both ways near Annerley Park because of an accident. There are queues from Croydon Road and the Crystal Palace one-way system. On the tube, a signal failure means severe delays on the Circle Line and on the Hammersmith and City Line westbound. And on London Overground, there's no service between Surrey Quays and Clapham Junction because of a points failure. LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation. The Nigel Farage Show.
So the Germans are going to the polls today, and Angela Merkel is hot favourite to become the German Chancellor for the 4th time. Mutti, or Mother, as she's known in Germany, a very dominant figure in German politics, seen to be perhaps the safest pair of hands across the whole of Europe when the big Euro crisis hit from 2008 to 2010. But also, controversially, of course, it was she who, when in 2015 Mr Juncker triggered the European Union's asylum policy, basically saying that anyone that set foot on European soil having crossed the Mediterranean could stay. She said, you know, we can cope. Germany can cope. Send us as many as you want. And over 1 million people came in 1 year, which has led to big, big concerns about integration, not to mention even concerns about potential terrorists coming in via that route. Now, under normal circumstances, her beating Martin Schulz from a Social Democrat, Schulz who, after 23 years as an MEP, the last 5 of which he was President of the European Parliament, is leading for the centre-left. Under normal circumstances, it wouldn't be much of a story, but it is. And it is because there is a new party in German politics, the AfD, the Alternative for Deutschland, and they are seen to be a highly controversial party indeed. Every news report you see in the United Kingdom will describe them as being far right. They don't have any seats in the Bundestag at the moment, though they have won some seats around the regional parliaments, and they did win MEPs at the last European elections. They've not been around very long. They started in 2013. They really began as a party that was deeply critical of Germany's membership of the euro and what the implications of that were for German taxpayers. But since then, I think immigration has been really their number one issue. And earlier on today, I interviewed Beatrix von Storck, MEP, and someone who's known to me, and she's the deputy leader of the AfD party in Germany, and I began by saying to her that it could be quite a big day for their party.
It's a big day for our party. It's a big day for our country, I guess. It's a big shift in the political system. This is what we're going to see. And so everyone is quite excited. I think others even more than we.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm looking at it from a British perspective. I mean, this is the far right coming back into the Bundestag, into the German Parliament, and I have to say, a lot of commentators here are scratching their head. How could the far right have ever re-established a toehold in German politics?
I think the general point to make about this is that is the other parties who have just moved to the far left, which then gives the impression that we might be a bit right. We are just centre right there. When you look at our program, where the Christian Democratic Party has been a few years ago, so we're just staying there where the others used to be. So the whole political system has shifted to the left, and now people are a bit fed up with this direction, and they just want to have a centre-right voice of a reasonable voice.
Yeah, but it is true, is it not?
Which is going against the ever closer union and all these policies.
Well, that's on the politics of the European Union, and I understand that, but it is true that you've had senior members that have made comments that have been seen to be anti-Semitic. You've had people say things about the religion of Islam that certainly give the impression that some of your party want it banned from Germany. I mean, you can't deny that the AFD have picked up some people for whom the term far right is appropriate.
We have got some. We have got excluded some. There's still some procedures going on others. That's no one denies it. That's true. The thing is that we are trying to establish the party and to clear this line, very on a tough line. If you look to our program, this is there's no question about it, and we have to get rid of some people, and we're doing it, and we're doing so.
So what is the attitude? I mean, you are going to be, according to the opinion polls, you could be the main opposition party in the Parliament if there's a new grand coalition again between the Martin Schulz's party and Angela Merkel's party. I mean, what is your position, firstly, on membership of the European Union, and secondly, what actually genuinely is your attitude towards Islam?
Starting off with the most important thing, which is Islam. We say Islam does not belong to Germany, but of course many Muslims do. There are many Muslims living integrated in our society, so no problems with them. But Islam at itself is claiming in its most interpretations political power, and this does not go together with our values and with our constitution. And particularly, the Sharia does not fit into our society. Sharia is regulating also the civil law and the punishing law and the public law, and this does not function within our framework. So this is what we say about Islam, and we do not want to have more and more Islamization within our culture. This is what we deny. Again, we are, of course, favouring religious freedom for everyone.
Right, so let me just be clear here. You're against Sharia, you're against Islamification, but what if I'm a moderate Muslim, practising, living in Berlin? I mean, I'd be rather scared, wouldn't I, Beatrix, if you get elected?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we are supported by those liberal Muslims who are trying to put reforms on Islam. They are pretty much on our side. So there are lots of people who are criticizing Islam publicly while being Muslims, and they are supporting us because they know this is the right approach. So if you would be a liberal Muslim, you should support us, and we would support you, and we would welcome you to our party. If you would favor Sharia law, then better not. No.
And we voted for Brexit. We voted for Brexit, albeit the Prime Minister appears to have delayed it for at least 2 years. But does your party want to leave the European Union or reform it?
Well, I think the first idea is we want to have deep reforms, knowing that it will never function. So that's a bit of a dilemma. It's not very popular in Germany to say we want to leave the European Union. But what we want is we support all those who are doing so. So we were very much in favour of the Brexit vote of you, because we think this might put efforts on the others to reform the European Union. What we see at the moment, of course, is the contrary. They're trying to put this ever closer union even closer and quicker together than ever. So that's going to be difficult. But we say we do not want to give any other sovereignty rights on the European level. Rather, we want to have sovereignty rights back to our country, to nation states. We want to keep the nation states as sovereign democracies, and we do not want to have an ever closer union.
And assuming that Mrs. Merkel gets back again, and it looks like she will, what can Brexit Britain expect in negotiations from Chancellor Merkel?
Well, I doubt that this is good news. I think she will stick to the basic European line, which says political decisions first. So you have to pay the punishing fee until only afterwards we want to have a free trade deal. But we will push forward within the Parliament, within the public debate. We will stress that a free trade deal with the UK is very important for us. It's much more important for us than you accepting migrant quotas or open borders or anything of political union. So this is one point we will make in our decision-making process, and we'll try to explain to the German people that it's of importance for hundreds of thousands of jobs in Germany that we have a free trade deal with you without political points.
And how many seats do the AFD win today?
Something in between. It can differ from 60 to 90. I think this is the range, because one thing we do not know is how big the parliament will be. Due to our political system, we could end up with 590 seats or even with 700. And this is what we don't know. And then the polls say we're in between 10 to 13, 14%.
Okay.
Out of 600 or 700.
Well, in 12 hours' time, we will know. Beatrix von Storck, thank you very much for joining me on LBC. Well, that was Beatrix von Storck, deputy leader of the AfD party in Germany. And when you wake up tomorrow morning, you will hear that Chancellor Merkel is going to become the Chancellor for the fourth time, and that'll be a small part of the news story. The big part of the news story, and it will go global, is that a right-wing party has broken into the Bundestag and will win a significant number of seats. And, you know, if they get 13%, they may well get as many as 90 seats. Interesting, isn't it? UKIP got 13% in 2015 and 1 seat. This is the point. Proportional representation is the norm in Europe, and it does allow parties like AfD to get a significant presence in the parliament. Now, you've heard her defence of the party against accusations of being far right, and that'll be interesting to watch and see how they develop and how they get on. But for us, for Brexit Britain, the attitude that Mrs. Merkel takes is clearly going to be very, very important. She is the most important, most dominant figure in European politics. Germany is the biggest country. It also is the biggest contributor to the European Union. Is Chancellor Merkel perhaps going to try and do a deal to get the Brits not to leave by making some concessions, or is she going to join Juncker and Barnier and be a real hard-liner and ask us to pay up, and to pay up in a big way? I don't know the answer to that, but I'm asking you, is Chancellor Merkel getting her fourth term good news for the United Kingdom or not? Let me know your answer on 0345 6060 973. You can text me to 84850. You can tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC at LBC. You can watch us on Facebook and comment there too. You're listening to the Sunday edition of the Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC, and it's 11:15.
Well, you are of nicotine. What is the first
I just want to say a couple of things.
My problem with it is the following.
LBC at the weekend. Alex Salmond.
I, like you, took Donald Trump at face value. And in Scotland, he promised thousands of jobs and billions of dollars of investment. When the relationship between the Donald and myself started to break down, it was because he didn't deliver what he had promised to deliver.
Leading Britain's conversation, Alex Salmond. Today from 3 on LBC.
Hey, Sarah, did you see Al Street in the Admiral ad last night?
Yeah, with the inspiration for multi-cover.
Guaranteed discounts on Admiral home and car insurance, don't you know?
Your home and car on one policy. But seriously, it's a lifesaver.
I know. I did my car, Rob's car and the house, and it was multi-cover discounts all round.
Ooh, that deserves a celebration.
Cup of tea, something stronger.
Multi-cover your home and cars at admiral.com.
Jack here has got Kev on the phone. As a PlusNet customer, he has lots of friendly people that have his back. Say hi, Kev.
Hi, Kev. Hi?
He can call PlusNet any day of the week. They've already helped him pick a package, upgrade a package, check bills, move home, give him matrix, ordered SIMs, transferred numbers, added buttons, checked his connection speed. And Julie here even helped him settle on Mallorca for his next family holiday.
Don't forget the factor 30.
PlusNet has lots of friendly staff that just can't help but help. It's probably why they've bagged Uswitch's Best Provider for Customer Service Award. PlusNet will do you proud.
The Virgin Atlantic worldwide sale is on. It's your chance to get away to the sunshine, sand dunes and cloud-bursting skyscrapers of Dubai. Or book your place next to the high rollers and pool party goers in legendary Las Vegas. Even touch down on the rolling streets of San Francisco before road tripping down the West Coast. Book now and fly in style to some of the best places in the world with our worldwide sale. Virgin Atlantic. Let it fly. Travel restrictions and T&Cs apply. Visit virginatlantic.com to book.
You've worked hard your whole life, building up your business and your personal wealth, only for the taxman to take a big chunk after you're gone. Protect your family and loved ones by talking to one of the estate planning specialists at Barnes Rofe. We'll look at your situation and help you to plan ahead and manage your estate for inheritance tax. Don't delay. Visit barnesrofe.com. Barnes Rofe, clever accountants for business.
Sometimes it can be hard to keep your show on the road, but new Car Genie from the AA makes things easier. Car Genie helps predict and prevent breakdowns. Just plug it into your car and it will warn you and us if there's a potential problem. That should keep you rolling. New Car Genie from the AA. Because anything can happen. Compatible vehicles only. Check the AA.com for details.
New Sky Sports is here. So now all our Sky TV customers can get our brand new channel dedicated to the Premier League for £18 a month. With 126 live games and a new weeknight debate show. Exciting, eh, Gary? If you don't have Sky TV, bundles start from £22 a month. Search New Sky Sports today to get our new Premier League channel. Unbelievable! Cancellation requires 31 days notice. New Sky TV customers, £20 setup fee, 18-month contract.
This is LBC, the Nigel Farage Show. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
The opinion polls in Germany show that Chancellor Merkel is 10 points ahead of Martin Schulz of the Social Democrats and that she's coming back for a fourth term as German Chancellor. I'm asking you, is that what you think is a good thing for the United Kingdom, for Europe, and indeed for the world? And where better to go to start this conversation than Munich in Germany? And I speak to James. James, good morning.
Good morning, Nigel. Thanks for inviting me to speak.
Not one bit. So she's been there an awfully long time. She's she's generally, I think on the economics of things, she's been seen to be pretty good. But I think her migrant policy has probably led to the rise of the AfD, hasn't it?
It has. And it was in the last debate that they had. Also, a question put to her as to whether she's actually created the room politically that allows the AfD to succeed in Germany. If she sort of stuck to the classic view of her party that the posters that they put out in the 91 election over here suggested of sort of controlled immigration.
Yes.
Then there wouldn't be this sort of void in German politics that Beatrice von Storch was talking about, wanting to sort of fill that gap.
So, James, clearly you sort of agree she has made a bit of a mistake here, but would you welcome her back as Chancellor for the fourth time?
I think she's the best of the two options. I mean, if you had a Schulz, then sort of the implications for Brexit would be truly horrendous. I mean, he is the extreme Europhile, and there would be then no difference between Berlin and Brussels. The other difference is also Merkel. She also is very heavily lent on by the special interest group within German industry, and the CSU even more.
The CSU, for those listening that don't know, Merkel's party is the CDU, but in Bavaria, where James is calling from, it's a slightly separate conservative party, a rather more conservative party, called the CSU. Sorry, James, I had to explain that to people.
No, not at all. And the CSU, by the way, were actually also calling for many of the sort of similar approaches to Merkel's or to solving the problem caused by Merkel's asylum policy a couple of years ago, that the AfD are now being attacked for in a way that is, I'm sure that you've got sort of a fairly sort of bit of stick from the political class in the UK, but the attacks on the AfD are unbelievable. They're sort of comparing them to Nazis and it's quite disquieting in many ways.
Yeah, I rather sense, James, that actually the Berlin establishment are in a state of panic over the AfD, and we saw Altmaier, who is Merkel's chief of staff, saying the other day, don't vote for them. He said only vote for state-sponsored parties. So I'm guessing they are a bit scared. Do you think, a second question, James, if I can, having talked about Merkel, and your sort of slightly lukewarm view that she's better than the others, and I understand that completely. Do you think the AfD coming in to the Bundestag is a healthy thing for German politics, or a symptom that something's gone very badly wrong?
I think I think finally having a sort of sense of opposition in German politics is really no bad thing. what they really will sort of worry them, though, is that they're not used to dealing with that. The German political class never have any opposition. You couldn't get a cigarette paper through between Schulz and Merkel on many things.
Yes.
During the debate, he even praised Angela Merkel's policy on asylum in many ways.
Yes.
And then if they actually have some people in the Bundestag that actually object to blanket policy and actually speak for the people, of which many of them are, even in terms of things like Brexit, from the typical sort of AfD vote here, are actually saying it's not such a bad thing. And these are people that are, fairly mainstream, normal, working-class German workers.
And they also, James, the AfD will, Beatrix made it clear, they'll represent the interests of a lot of workers in Munich and Bavaria, for whom a free trade deal with the United Kingdom, given the 30 billion euro surplus the Germans have with us, would be very much in their interest. James, thank you for your call. Fascinating. It's going to be really interesting to see what the effect of this new party, with perhaps as many as 90 seats in the Bundestag, is going to be. And to prove our international dimension, we now go to Conroe in Texas, where Daniel is from Texas, going to tell us what he thinks Europe looks like and Mrs. Merkel looks like. Good morning. Well, it's very early in the morning there, isn't it, Daniel?
It's 5 a.m.
Right.
Almost 5:30.
Okay. So how does it look from there, Daniel? Mrs. Merkel probably coming back for a fourth term.
Well, I think everyone around the world should have some concern, especially anyone who's watching this ever closer integration of the European Union. Let's go back. It hasn't even been a month now that the mainstream media apologists for the European bureaucracy declared Merkel the moral compass of the Western world. And so, I think when I look at this, as I'm in a state right now where Texas leaving the Union polls at about mid-40s to high 40s.
Wow.
Anytime it's asked.
Yeah.
This idea of ever closer integration, the fact that she's even touting it, I think the choice in these elections, in the German elections, is like, would you like your left leg amputated or your right leg amputated? It's not really much of a choice, but I think AfD is playing a role of the foil in this. And I think it's a surefire sign that, the European bureaucracies, or these larger unions, are in question all around the world right now. Yeah. And the fact that it's happening in Merkel's backyard, I think, is at least heartening in that regard.
Yeah, Daniel, I think whether people agree or disagree with the AfD, and I Beatrix von Storck, who we had on the programme, is a very respectable woman. I like her. There are other elements of that party I'm less sure about. But I think, Daniel, where you're right, is actually it's going to shake up German politics. It's going to shake up the German media. It's going to get a very different debate going in Germany. But it does seem to me that the common sense thing for Merkel to protect German jobs would be, say, let's have a free trade deal with the United Kingdom. But I suspect, Daniel, that her love of the European project will come above that.
Well, she is part of the establishment, so she is going to have to toe the party line. Regardless of what her personal feelings are, the party line is that the European project must move forward. Yes. It must move to this ever closer integration. And so, all of that is sort of ridiculous and beside the point. What is most important here, and I think the role that the AfD plays, is that it becomes, regardless of their individual policies, it becomes a legitimate counterbalance and becomes the only horse in the race that actually cares about the concept of a nation state. And really, isn't that what Brexit was all about?
Absolutely.
Isn't that what Euroscepticism is all about?
Absolutely.
It's all about this idea of the nation state and the preservation.
Yeah, it's about the nation state. It's about governing yourself. It's about making your own laws. It's about controlling your own borders. And in our case, Daniel, it should be about striking trade deals with countries like America. Sadly, our Prime Minister has somewhat put that on hold for a few years, which does not make me particularly happy. Daniel, from a Texas point of view, sum up the European project for me.
Well, I would say this, is that May needs to come to Texas and get some negotiating tactics and tricks and tips. She needs to get a class. because the European bureaucracy are all hat and no cattle. They hold none of the cards.
That is a great Texas quote. In fact, it's so good, Daniel, we have to leave it there. Fantastic. Thank you. Well, Daniel, giving a global view on how he sees the nation state and where it fits in, and Europe is all hat and no cattle, which is a very, very Texas point of view. Greg asks me, he says, how is Merkel ruining Germany? The German economy is booming, unlike the UK's. Yes, the German economy is strong. In fact, the Eurozone as a whole is going through growth at the moment, having underperformed the UK for most of the last decade. But this is not just about the economics. And I did, Greg, earlier on concede that I think, she is seen to have been good for the German economy. She was that sort of stable hand at the tiller during the Euro crisis, and indeed, not just Germany, but I think Brussels and the whole of the Eurozone looked to her. How's she ruining Germany? Well, her critics would say that her policy on immigration has led to division in society, a rise in crime, and actually her great belief in the European project allows terrorists not just to come into Europe, but to move around Europe freely, which is why the Berlin truck bomber last Christmas was able to simply catch a train to France and then on to Italy, where almost by fluke, frankly, he was caught. Abby says, first come, first served basis from Merkel was a disaster. It's not what she did to help people, it's how she went about it. Help people, but don't endanger people and refugees. Well, Abby, equally you could argue that the call from Mrs. Merkel and from Mr. Juncker for anyone that wanted to come, anyone that set foot on European soil to stay, actually played directly into the hands of the criminal trafficking gangs and led to more people being exposed to very, very serious danger. Let's not forget, thousands of people, many thousands of people have died in the last couple of years simply crossing the Mediterranean. But it's German election day. She is going to win. Whether she can form a coalition with the Liberals and the Greens, and that, by the way, is called the Jamaica coalition. Why? Because they would be the colours of the Jamaican flag that would make up those three parties, or whether the grand coalition continues with Schulz and the Social Democrats remains to be seen. The one thing that we do know for certain is that no party will work with the AfD, the Alternative for Deutschland, in any way at all. They are the outsiders. They are despised by the political class. They've got the tag of being far right. You heard their deputy leader earlier on setting out their position. It's going to be a very interesting next few weeks in German politics. You're listening to the Sunday edition of the Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC, and it's time for the news with Glenn Moore.
6 people have been injured in a suspected acid attack at a shopping centre in East London. A 15-year-old boy has been arrested in connection with the attack at the Stratford Centre last night. More than 630,000 people have signed a petition to save Uber in London after it didn't have its licence renewed. The minicab app company is now appealing Transport for London's decision, with the Sunday Times reporting it is prepared to make safety improvements. An Olympic gold medalist Dame Kelly Holmes says she used to self-harm every day. The former middle-distance runner says it happened during her battle with depression as she tried to overcome sporting injuries in the 1997 World Championships. LBC weather, patchy rain will move across western parts throughout the day. It's going to be a dry day across the east, feeling warm as well, with a high of 21 degrees.
LBC Travel in Barnet. Station Road is blocked in both directions at Plantagenet Road because of an accident. There are queues from East Barnet Road and from Great North Road at the Odeon traffic lights. In Woodford, there are queues on the North Circular westbound at Waterworks Corner. There's a lane blocked because of an accident at the top of the exit slip road. There's very slow traffic around Crystal Palace. Annerley Road northbound is closed near Annerley Park. That's because of an accident, so there are queues from Croydon Road and the Crystal Palace one-way system. And on London Overground, there's no service between Surrey Quays and Clapham Junction because of a points failure. LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff.
This is LBC.
Your journey is always more pleasurable with Aeroflot Russian Airlines. Our young fleet flies to an enormous range of destinations. Come and experience true hospitality delivered by our expert cabin crew and pilots, made even better by the choice of exquisite cuisine served on board. Then just sit back, relax, and enjoy the comfort of our state-of-the-art aircraft. You'll find you've enjoyed yourself before you've even landed. Fly Aeroflot.
Landlords, Direct Line guarantees to beat other insurers' renewal premiums for the same cover. Can your insurance do that? Switch to Direct Line Landlord. New customers only. Qualifying criteria apply. Underwritten by UK Insurance Limited.
We oversee the commercial and operational interests of Bristol's affiliated football, rugby and basketball clubs. Our business is so much more than sport.
Sage Business Management Solutions support thousands of growing enterprise businesses just like Bristol Sport.
Sage gives us more time to focus on doing what we love, bringing the people of Bristol together.
From accounting in the cloud to payroll and payments, Sage has the right solution for your business. Discover more at sage.co.uk/stories. Be Sage. Build on.
Wembley. You can't describe it. Experience it for yourself. England's crucial World Cup qualifier v Slovenia. Wembley, 7:45pm, 5th of October. Tickets from £20, £10 for kids, £2.50 booking fee. Be there. thefa.com/tickets.
Award-winning Howarth Homes is delighted to announce the forthcoming release of their latest luxury development, Teddington Gate. A secure private development of just 35 individually designed and highly specified 1- and 2-bedroom apartments, minutes from both High Street and Mainline Station. Teddington Gate represents a rare opportunity to buy a fabulous new home, a short stroll from stunning Bushy Park. Prices starting at just $359,995. Register now for our sales event on the 29th and 30th of September by visiting teddingtongate.com.
Maths homework, romantic breaks, holiday checklists, boarding passes and the local lingo, song lyrics, singing coaches and much needed vocal cord exercises, fairy cake recipes, DIY witches hats, Easter egg hunts and spa breaks, forgotten theatre tickets, train timetables, birthday invites, party bags and top tips for avoiding sugar rushes.
Whatever your family is printing, with up to 3 years worth of ink included with selected models of the Epson EcoTank printer, it means you can just keep on going. 3 years worth of ink is based on an average print volume of 140 pages per month.
When most people think of 3D, they think of movies, games, or TV. At Darwood & Tanner, we think of it as a process of determining the shape and volume of your jawline in 3-dimensional space, allowing us to create the perfect dental implant solution for you. To be amazed at the transformational effect of Darwood & Tanner dental implants, visit darwoodandtanner.co.uk. Darwood & Tanner, obsessive about dental implant technology.
There are almost 400 universities and over 50,000 courses. You almost need a degree to pick one. With the Sunday Times Good University Guide, you can find the best teaching and student experiences, plus our rankings of the top universities. Pick up your copy of the Sunday Times this weekend.
Leading Britain's conversation, The Nigel Farage Show. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag #FarageOnLBC.
It's election day in Germany, and Angela Merkel tipped to top the poll by a country mile and be able to form a coalition with more or less whoever she chooses after that. And I'm asking you, is that a good thing? Is it a good thing that Merkel gets back for a 4th term? Is it a good thing for Britain? Is it a good thing for the European project? Or has she frankly made too many mistakes? No to Merkel. She has done too many deceitful things which never get published. I can guarantee she will not be good for Great Britain, says Klaus Dietrich, and he texts in from Berlin. So we talked there about the growth of the AfD. We talked to Beatrice von Storck, their deputy leader, who said herself, you know, we are a party of the right of politics. We are strongly Eurosceptic. But interestingly, of course, Euroscepticism is not just confined to the right. Massive mistake when UK newspapers give you that impression, because in France there is a very strong left-wing, and I mean really left-wing political leader called Jean-Luc Mélenchon, and he is making waves in Paris, and he's doing it right there today. So to find out more, let's go to LBC's Paris correspondent, Peter Allen. Peter, good morning.
Good morning, Nigel. Yes, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, he's out on the street in Paris today with many thousands of demonstrators, not all left-wing, of course. A lot of them are just anti-government.
Yep.
And they are sick and tired of Emmanuel Macron already. He's only been for a few months. But a lot of protests going on.
So this is, I mean, Peter, we've seen all this before. I remember when President Sarkozy was elected saying he was going to make labour market reforms and being hailed as the new Thatcher, and it seemed to me that sort of a month in, a couple of 100,000 trade unionists turned up in Paris, protested, and he gave up any attempt, really, at reforming things. Is this much the same pattern in your view?
Well, it could be. This has happened for years. It happened under Chirac. It happened under Mitterrand. And, of course, it happened under poor old François Hollande, although that didn't get a great deal of publicity because everybody assumed it would happen under socialist government. But we have got to see. The demonstrators are saying there's 150,000 of them on the streets of Paris here already. Police are saying it's about 30,000.
Right.
Now, it's repeated every single time, and Macron thinks he has got the chance to do something, carry out reform. We don't know whether it's going to happen or not. He's forcing a lot of things through by presidential decree, so he's doing it very, very quickly. So it's all a question of how the country reacts. And most of this legislation is reversible.
Would it be fair to say, Peter, that since the elections that the French had, the almost never-ending series of 2 rounds of elections for the presidency, 2 rounds of elections for the Parliament, the Assemblée Nationale, would it be fair to say that Jean-Luc Mélenchon, who, as I say, is a hard-left, hardline Eurosceptic, would it be fair to say he is making now some serious political advances in France?
I think it would. He has got a lot of support. There's an anti-establishment feel about everything. Just have a look at how the establishment parties, the Gaullists and the Socialists, absolutely routed at all those elections you refer to. And absolutely, there is an anti-establishment feel about it. A lot of people say that Emmanuel Macron is a member of the establishment. He would disagree. He started his own movement, and he wants something different for France.
And what is the age profile of the protesters, and in particular, those that are really keen Jean-Luc Mélenchon supporters?
Well, strangely enough, you do get a lot who are quite old, but a lot of youngsters as well. There's a real sort of broad cross-section. If anything, I would guess, having spent a lot of time on these marches, I would say 18 to 25-year-olds are very well representative, but so too are perhaps those who are older than 50, say, older than 55.
Okay.
That's really what we're looking at, yeah.
Tremendous. Peter, thank you very much for the briefing on what's going on in Paris. My thanks indeed. So, there you are. We've discussed already in this hour right-wing Euroscepticism in the shape of the AfD and left-wing Euroscepticism in France in the shape of Jean-Luc Mélenchon, whose political movement is called Unsubmissive France. So it's pretty full-on stuff. And Mélenchon basically wants France to leave the European Union. There's no other way of interpreting the comments that he makes. And the other point that is interesting is we keep being told that it's the young people who are in love with the European project. And actually, it is the young people across Europe who are fueling the movements, some on the right, some on the left, that are questioning the whole establishment of this European project. It's only in the United Kingdom, the only country I can see in the European Union where it's seen that the youth are in favour of Juncker and the gang is this country, the United Kingdom. It's completely different, especially in the Eurozone. So, back to the centre-right in Germany, which of course is Mrs Merkel's CDU party and the AfD, further to the right than her. Is it a good thing for Britain and Europe and the world if Merkel wins this 4th term, or should we be concerned? And I'm going to go to Andy in Greenwich. Andy, good morning.
Well, hi, good morning, Nigel. You forgot to mention that Geert Wilders in the Netherlands has prevented a government being formed in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
His election success, being a prominent Eurosceptic.
Well, OK, but I wasn't doing a world tour, Andy, but you know. But, so come on. So what experience of Germany do you have, Andy?
Well, I used to work there some years ago in Munich, in Augsburg. What I do know, I mean, I live out in Hong Kong now, but when Angela Merkel opened up the doors, because I sell to people like Siemens, I sell to Hammer out in Germany.
What do you sell, Andy?
Electronics.
Right, fine, okay.
From China. Now, I visit German bars. And when she opened up those borders, the German people in there, they were so angry, and they were. And you wouldn't believe, it's the same sort of anger I see in Hong Kong about Obamacare.
Right.
Americans come there and they all talk about Obamacare. But the Germans talking about this immigration thing. Now, Angela Merkel, she comes from East Germany. Okay, and when I was working in Germany, I was working in Bavaria. That is the workhorse of Germany, a bit like, Catalonia in Spain. that is the thing that is producing the money. You got BMW there, you know, etc., etc., etc. That is the thing I got. The other thing I got is from this election. What we will see is, I think we will see a new politics coming out from Germany, because Merkel's going to have to produce a new coalition. Now, whether she includes the AfD, we have to see.
No chance. Andy, honestly, there is no way she'd do that. I mean, she'd much rather work with Schulz and the socialists, because actually, on the big questions of Europe, they pretty much agree, really.
I know, but there are other coalition partners who won't agree with her. They want a solution for free trade with Britain, and that is what I want to see from this election.
Yes,
those parties, less extreme, getting more seats.
So the Liberals, just to sort of help people here, the Liberals, I think, are very much a free trade party, aren't they? The Liberals, I think, would be very much in favour of, let's negotiate something sensible with the United Kingdom. But Andy, let me ask you, you know, Merkel obviously wants to be seen to be defending the German economy, to be defending German companies and German jobs, but at the same time, she has always been utterly committed, in public at least, to the European project. Which of those does she choose when she comes back for a fourth term?
Well, she's probably going to choose what she grew up with, and the European project took her out of East Germany.
Yeah.
That's our problem.
Well, did it really? Was the fall of the Soviet Union really to do with what was going on in Brussels?
I see that as her political awakening. You know, that's our problem, and hopefully, other parties can push her towards a more free trade area.
Right. So her instinct would be the European.
To Germany.
Her instinct would be the European project, not a deal with Great Britain, but a coalition partners may push her there.
That's what I hope.
Interesting. Andy, thank you very much indeed. Andy there with a very good knowledge of German politics. It would be fun if Merkel got no overall control, says Gray. Well, she won't get overall control. She's unlikely to form a majority on her own, and that's partly because the AfD have chipped away a fair bit of her vote. But she's going to be the biggest party, I think, by quite some margin. Merkel is the best of two bad options. Schulz would be a disaster for the UK's Brexit, the EU and beyond. The media is doing its usual job of smearing any opposition. And Schulz, I have to say, he was leader of the Socialists in the European Parliament for many, many years before becoming the President of the Parliament. And I don't think anybody, even Verhofstadt, has shouted at me as much and as vigorously as Martin Schulz did on many, many occasions. And if you go and have a little look on YouTube, you will see Schulz and I exchanging non-pleasantries over the course of the last decade or more. You're listening to the Sunday edition of the Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC. It's 11:45.
Coming up at 12 on LBC, Owen Jones.
Should Theresa May resign? Tory MPs are circling around her. Her administration's in chaos. Shouldn't she just do the honourable thing?
Owen Jones on LBC.
Your journey is always more pleasurable with Aeroflot Russian Airlines. Our young fleet flies to an enormous range of destinations. Come and experience true hospitality delivered by our expert cabin crew and pilots, made even better by the choice of exquisite cuisine served on board. Then just sit back, relax, and enjoy the comfort of our state-of-the-art aircraft. You'll find you've enjoyed yourself before you've even landed. Fly Aeroflot.
Sometimes it can be hard to keep your show on the road, but new Car Genie from the AA makes things easier. Car Genie helps predict and prevent breakdowns. Just plug it into your car and it will warn you and us if there's a potential problem. That should keep you rolling. New Car Genie from the AA. Because anything can happen. Compatible vehicles only. Check the AA.com for details.
When you're trying to find the perfect cruise for you, Virgin Holidays knows what's what. If you fancy a perfectly shaken Cosmopolitan, the very first fully robotic bar on Royal Caribbean will create it in exactly 6.5 multi-directional rotations. Try asking a smartphone if it can do that.
I'm sorry, I cannot. I do not have hands.
Please try the Bionic Bar on Royal Caribbean.
We know what makes a cruise. If you want to know more, visit your nearest Virgin Holidays store. Virgin Holidays. Seize the holiday. ATOL protected.
England at Wembley. You can't describe it. Experience it for yourself. England's crucial World Cup qualifier v Slovenia. Wembley, 7:45 p.m, 5th of October. Tickets from £20, £10 for kids, £2.50 booking fee. Be there. thefa.com/tickets.
You've worked hard your whole life, building up your business and your personal wealth, only for the taxman to take a big chunk after you're gone. Protect your family and loved ones by talking to one of the estate planning specialists at Barnes Rofe. We'll look at your situation and help you to plan ahead and manage your estate for inheritance tax. Don't delay. Visit barnesrofe.com. Barnes Rofe. Clever accountants for business.
We now go live to Admiral HQ.
Admiral, you promised customers lower prices for Admiral home and car insurance.
That's right. You can insure your home and cars on one policy and get guaranteed discounts.
And you promised flexible cover?
Yes. Start with a car or home and add others when it suits you.
Your home and car on one policy?
Exactly. We call it multi-cover insurance. You'll find it at admiral.com.
There are many things a mother can pass on to her baby. Her smile, her eye colour, and her immunity to whooping cough. A simple vaccination during your pregnancy can help to protect your baby in their first weeks. Please speak to your GP, nurse, or healthcare professional and pass on your immunity.
New Scientist Live, an exciting festival of ideas and discovery, returns this September with headline speakers Heston Blumenthal and Chris Packham. Taking place at London's Excel, the festival will feature over 120 inspirational talks, as well as 5 immersive zones where you can sequence your own DNA and explore the galaxy. New Scientist Live, the 28th of September until the 1st of October. For your last chance to buy tickets, go to lbc.co.uk.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
It's the German elections, and the unsmiling, serious but dominant German Chancellor Angela Merkel is absolutely top favourite to get back for a 4th term. But perhaps the big story over the next few days is going to be the fact that the AfD, the Alternative for Deutschland, Eurosceptic, and with a very strong views on elements of Islam, is going to get perhaps as many as 90 seats given the German proportional representation system. They're on perhaps as high as 13% in the opinion polls, and I think that will be a big global story over the course of the next few days. And that's one thing that we do try and do on the Sunday, is we try not just to reflect what's happened in the past week or the past day, but to try and look ahead to what that debate's going to be. So is Angela Merkel going to be good news for Britain or bad news for Britain? Is she going to adhere to her public position of supporting European unification in all its forms, or is a more pragmatic Merkel going to emerge, who either tries to say, look, actually, we need a free trade deal with the UK more than anybody, we're selling them an awful lot of cars and washing machines, or could she even try and play a clever brokerage role and say, do you know what, if we'd given Cameron stuff, they might not have left. What about now, making some grand deal with the British? None of this, it seems to me, is impossible. However, put me up against a wall, and I suspect that her loyalty to the project, to her belief in European unification, will come first. I suspect, but I hope that I'm wrong. And I'd love to see the British government actually starting to put some pressure on her by talking to BMW and talking to all these people. Charlie in Kensington, is Merkel good news for Germany, the European Union and the United Kingdom?
Hi, Mr. Farage.
Hello.
Hi, Rob. Why are we having this conversation? We're having this conversation of Britain's interest in Europe, Britain's interest in the world. Do I think Angela Merkel's a positive for Britain, for Europe? Yes. Yes, I do, because she is the most powerful woman in the world. She has espoused progressive politics for over a decade. Why is she successful? And how do we draw comparisons with Theresa May? And why do we see Theresa May failing and Angela Merkel being so successful? These are interesting questions to pose. Because the political compass of Angela Merkel is pointing in the right direction. She has... Your suspicions are completely correct, Mr. Farage. Angela Merkel is actually has the European project at the heart of her politique.
Yes, she does.
It's not a suspicion; it's a fact. And I think your assertions of the AfD being successful in Germany are misguided. The German youth are not Eurosceptic. European youth aren't Eurosceptic.
Oh, Charlie, they are no, Charlie, hang on. Whoa, 1 second. In terms of the movements of the right and the left, and in terms of when referendums are held, the people that are voting against the European status quo are increasingly young people across Europe.
I don't know where you're getting your facts from, Mr. Farage. I think your facts are...
Well, an example, Charlie.
As misguided as the 350 million...
Charlie, an example, Charlie. When the Swedes voted on whether to join the euro or not, an estimated 70% of the 18 to 30s said no. And I remember Tony Blair, going back to that period of time, being very worried about it.
Farage, I mean, you're talking about a time ago. We're talking about the here and now.
Okay, well, I tell you what, Charlie, I'll try one more on you. The Five-Star Movement in Italy, which has been pretty much neck and neck for the lead at around about 30% in the polls, their leader, Beppe Grillo, said to me, almost nobody over the age of 40 votes for us. They are almost entirely a youth movement.
Well, I can't comment on that, Mr. Farage, because my knowledge of Italian politics is... I mean, Italy is insignificant in Britain's interest in terms of the European project, and so I don't really take much notice. They've got a very unstable government. When you have an unstable government, the country moves generally to the right, as we've seen in this country here, in the United Kingdom. We've seen unstable government, and people are tending towards the right because of the things that you say, Mr. Farage. You need to take responsibility for the vile vitriol that you put out against Islam, against...
Oh, hang on. Oh, Charlie, hang on. Do you know, no one's ever... I haven't put any vile vitriol out about Islam, ever. So you really are talking... You really are talking baloney.
I think you're adding fuel to the fire, Mr. Farage, and the fact that you're out of politics, mainstream politics, and you're on a Sunday afternoon radio show is more befitting than being on GMTV or whatever it is.
Do you know what, Charlie? Charlie from Kensington, you're entitled to your view. God, you sound miserable. Cheer up, mate. Go and have a pint. Right, and I'm going to ask Marion in Stevenage. We went a long way away, Marion, there from Angela Merkel. What do you think of Angela Merkel, Marion, and is she going to be a good thing for Germany, the European Union, and the Brexit process?
Well, I see her as a leader of great courage. Mm-hmm. She stretched out the hand of hope to desperate people in their hour of need. And I think that her only mistake was that she naively believed that other European leaders would do the same. Instead, they erected barbed wires against these desperate people.
Well, when you say desperate people, Marion, do you mean people aged 25 who are 75% male and who would never qualify as refugees in any definition of that term?
There were also young children. There were also elderly people. There were also mothers and fathers trying to save their children.
Marion,
if you were in that situation, you would do the same.
Marion, isn't the point here that whilst there were deserving people who would qualify as refugees at any point over the course of the last few centuries, actually, didn't this, and as you call it, sort of hand of hope, didn't this hand of hope that she and Mr Juncker extended lead to something being abused on a simply massive, massive scale? And worst of all, Marion, actually the terrorists coming into Europe.
Well, I think that what people would do, families would do, that they would send the children that they believed would have a better chance of survival. And let me tell you something, the majority of the German voters supported her decision then, and they still do. So that's how I think. That's what I think of. She's a courageous human being, and she done something very, very human, and we should all be proud of her.
Marion, that is a very sincerely held view, and I thank you for making it. Marion saying that, actually what Merkel did was a very brave and very courageous thing to do. I personally would like to have seen it sort of tempered by, perhaps, wouldn't it have been sensible for Germany to assess offshore who actually qualified to be a refugee and who didn't? And had that happened, they wouldn't find themselves now embroiled in this massive row. And don't forget, I was in Prague at the end of last week, and you've got, 4 governments there. You've got the Hungarians, the Slovaks, the Czechs and the Poles saying, no. We're not taking European quotas. We are not paying for Mrs. Merkel's error. So the irony is, however generous she felt in her own heart, I think she's damaged the European project pretty severely by saying these sort of things. Well, I have to say that I think it's going to be a fascinating week in German politics. And there are some who will argue that Mrs. Merkel is not all she's cracked up to be. There are some who will say, actually, despite what people like Marion think, what she did was one of the biggest political mistakes made by a Western leader in modern times. Either way, she's going to win. The AfD will be there. The Labour Party will keep rowing about the European question, and the Tories could be in for a nightmare when they get to Manchester. You've been listening to the Sunday edition of the Nigel Farage Show. I'm back tomorrow from 7. Coming up at 3, it's Alex Salmond, but up next, it's Owen Jones.
Coming up, is it time to finally end the so-called war on drugs and decriminalise them? That's a question even Prince William's asked, and a newspaper column today slaps him down for it. But it works in Portugal. Isn't it time to stop criminalising millions of people? As another round of rail strikes beckons, is it time to bring the railways back under public ownership? They're a rip-off, inefficient mess. Surely there's got to be a better way. But first, is it time for Theresa May to resign? I almost feel sorry for her.